Welcome back to Gunner Fan TV. Welcome back to another video. Do you think we could win the title this season? Do you think we could also win the Champions League? My opinion is, I honestly think we can. Let me hear your views in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. The way we're playing this season, guys, I'm not going to lie. I don't think I'm being delusional. I don't think I'm a deluded Arsenal fan when I say this. I think we can do it this season. I think we're able to win a major based on how we're playing, based on our performance, based on our confidence, guys. I think that we could actually do it. Will we do it? That's the question. All right. Because we've seen it before where the execution is great, right? We're building that gap. We had that 7 point gap from the other teams right now. I'm saying we're leading 6 points against Chelsea, 7 points against City. But the thing is, can we sustain it? Can we really sustain it? Everything is going our way right now. The performance yesterday solidifies in my mind that we could actually do it. What I saw in that second half, the way we rolled over Bayern Munich, it shows us that we can perform at that level. We went up a gear in the second half yesterday against Bayern Munich. In the first half, I was frustrated. And I'm like, damn, man, listen, it seems like we're taking a step back. We take 2 steps forward and we're taking a step back. But whatever was said in the second half in the changing room, whatever Mikel said, or whatever executions he actually, implemented, it worked. I don't know if he got into their heads psychologically and it was more of a mental change than an actual physical change. Whatever it was, it actually worked because I saw a different second half. Let's get into it real quick, guys. Lovely game yesterday in the Emirates, guys. We actually went out there with the confidence that we could beat, Bayern Munich, top team in Europe. They've been performing at an elite level for years. The last time they won the Champions League was in 2020. They haven't won since. And the last time we actually won a title was in 2020, which is the FA Cup. So, you know what I'm saying? They're a top team in Europe. Arsenal is Arsenal. We know, as Arsenal fans, we know what we are. All right. We're a big club too, but we're still yet to get our hands on that elusive Champions League. It's been eluding us for years. We got close. We got close last season, but we weren't able to cross the line. But this season, I actually believe that we could do it. With the game yesterday, that showed me a lot. I learned a lot yesterday about my club and how we could dig deep and how if we get our execution right, we could beat any team in the world. We could beat any team in Europe. So for me yesterday, it was very important seeing that we came out in that second half and performed the way we performed. Because the first half got me worried, if I'm going to be honest. In the first half, they were dominating possession, which kind of was expected because, they're a top team. They're not going to come and sit back, right? So that kind of set the stage for an open game, right? Because we also play a possession-based football game, right? That's how we play. That's how Arsenal operates. We like to have possession. We like to dictate the pace. But Bayern Munich does the same thing, right? Vincent Company, that's, he played for Manchester City under Pep. So that's his mentality. That's his philosophy. So, either it could, cancel out each other or, you just see a good game of possession football, what I'm saying, tit for tat in a sense where, we would have possession, they would have possession. But for me in the first half, and they could see in the stats, it was more of, 60-40 where they had the bulk of the possession. And it was annoying for me personally because I feel like when you're home, it doesn't matter what team comes to your house. You're going to dominate. You're going to be on top, right? You're going to be that dominant force. But in the first half, I didn't really see that. However, if I'm going to be honest, it was more of them having possession in in positions that weren't dangerous. So they weren't really, doing any damage with that possession, in my opinion. Right? They were moving the ball around. They had their structure, had their old formation set up. Tactically, they looked good because oftentimes we would probably catch them on a break, but they recovered well. So they were very organized. But they weren't really threatening us with the possession that they had, if that makes sense, right? Set piece again. All right, we caught them on a set piece, and they came back with a beautiful ball, caught Skelly Long, and they were able to equalize. But it was expected. The first half, maybe not so much possession. If I'm going to be honest, I didn't really expect them to have so much possession. Maybe closer to 50-50, 50-ish, somewhere near there. But they had way too way too much possession for my liking. So I didn't like that. Let's just assess the first half real quick. Um, I guess they came out with a lot of energy because they've seen our record. We haven't conceded. We've won the same amount of games they've won, right? So, at the end of the day, they know we're confident, and we understand that they're confident too. So the first half for me was expected. Um, and they came out looking good. I'm not going to be honest. I was kind of nervous in a sense where I'm like, damn, man, why do they have so much possession? They're probing. And again, as I said, they weren't really causing us any damage, any trouble. Um, I wasn't worried in terms of them actually scoring because they didn't seem a goal threat. But the possession just always worries me having possession. Um, you know, but they didn't really have, a lot of chances on goal, as far as I can remember. So after a point, you became relaxed, and then we scored, and I felt like we're going to kick on. We're going to kick on from there, and we're going to actually take control of the game. Unfortunately, we didn't really do that in the first half. The only issue I had in the first half, I think everybody played their role. I think we did it as best as we could in the first half in terms of keeping them penned back, and we didn't really gain the possession in the first half, but I felt like we were okay as a team. Tactically, we were fine. The only issue I had was with Skelly, and unfortunately, he just didn't have a bad. It just didn't have a good game. It's one of those games where um, he just I don't know. He played well in the other Champion League games prior to this, but to throw him into a big game, and he hasn't really had a lot of minutes, if we're going to be fair, and to just throw him into a big game like this, I'm not going to blame Mikel. You know, you have to give him the opportunity to play, right? Because he's a good player. He played very well last season, and you have to give him the opportunity to play. So Mikel putting him into this game, I can't blame Mikel for that. When you get your opportunity as a player, you have to perform. And unfortunately, this was a game where it was just more than him. You know what I'm saying? He just had a bad game, nothing more than that. We don't need to really, you know, psychoanalyze anything and oh, he's just off his what he just an off game, and he just needs an arm around his shoulder at this point. You know what I mean? And I think he'll bounce back. So I'm not worried about that. But he did get caught a couple of times, and that kind of cost us the first goal. In the second half, he got caught once again. Um, and I think if the I forgot the young kid's name, if he had executed that, better, if he kind of opened up his body some more, they could have scored. But thank God they didn't. But in the second half, we came out looking a threat, if I'm gonna be honest. Whatever was said in the dressing room kind of, changed our whole thought process. And we came out looking, more dangerous, more possession, which I like to see from my club. It doesn't matter where we go, we need to take possession. I don't care what the team, who the guy, I don't care. We need to have more possession. And that's what I saw. I feel like if we have more possession, Arsenal will create more chances. And that's exactly what we did. Along with the changes made sense. I'm saying 10 out of 10 for Mikel. I'm saying changes were spot on. And every player who came on made an impact. You know what I'm saying? So that was a breath of fresh air. Seeing some of the players coming back, seeing Madueke back, seeing Trossard back. Califer came onto this thing, provided for the second goal. Madueke scored. It's beautiful to see that, man. And we still have players who still needs to come into the team, who are still coming back from injury. So we don't have a full squad yet. And it's looking good, man. As an Arsenal fan, and I assume as players too, they feel confident because we're doing well. Overall, the team played well. I mean, I can only point out one bad player, and I don't want to be too harsh on the kid. He's a good player. He's going to be very good in the future. He just had one bad game. You know what I'm saying? He got caught out, and that's it, man. But overall, we look solid defensively. Mascara looked good. It doesn't matter who we chop and change in there, whether it's Mascara, whether it's Nkapie. We look good, defensively. And as an Arsenal fan, we've never really worried about our defense. But since this season, if I'm going to be honest, last season was a bit dodgy. We did have Kivior who kind of filled the gap, fill a stop gap, and he did well, right? But this season is just something different about this season as it pertains to our defense. We just seem solid. as a defensive unit. And we just seem confident when we're going into games, and it doesn't matter who's in those positions. So we just have to continue. We just have to continue. We want to see more of that. We just can't do it now and then, we turn up Sunday and we just, we crumble. We're playing Chelsea this weekend, and we just need to solidify our position, at the top of the league, and let everybody know, what I'm saying, it's our title to lose. And that's where I'm at right now. What I'm saying? But overall, a good game. I can't really find much fault. We could go into the game and we could analyze it and dissect it, but it's just a good time to be an Arsenal fan. Let's not be negative. Let's just continue to support our team, and let's just hope that the players will continue this run of form, this good vein of form, and we just transition that into Sunday and just continue to push to this title. All right. So I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Let me know what you think. If we could actually go out there and win the league, guys. And I'll see you again on Sunday, and we could talk more about the game. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please go ahead and do so. Let me hear your comments about the game also. And I'll catch you guys on the weekend when we play Chelsea. Peace.